Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It is March 29th, Wednesday evening, and we are featuring our kit for this month and our Stamp It Your Way class that we offer. I'm Betsy Kreider with Be Creative Stamping, and the sidekick with me is Mary Ellen Stites, and she is with Create with ME. And we are so happy to be here, right?
Yes, I'm super excited to stamp with you again, Betsy. It seems like it's been forever.
Too long, way too long. But you've been busy. You've had a lot going on in the last month, right?
Yes, my son got married last weekend. That was super exciting. I had some surgery on my hip, so before I was hobbling around, now I'm doing really good and recovering very well. So I'm super happy to be here. And I'm super excited about these cards, and the colors are so yummy. And the paper, okay, everything about it is super, super exciting. I'm glad
It is.
people are watching to create their cards.
It is crazy, right? That two-tone flora, and I keep wanting to say floral, and it's not. There's no
Yeah.
L on the end of it. Is two-tone flora, and it is such a beautiful suite of product between the stamp set, and you've got two different bundles going on. So we're going to show you both bundles tonight, even though we're only featuring one in the kit. We've already kind of die cut for you some dies, and we're using some of the greetings from the other bundles, so you'll get to see both of those. The gems and that designer series paper. Come on, really?
Yeah, I'm going to take you down to my desk. You just stay there. I'm going to take you down to my desk because I have to show you this. So first of all, these gems, these are the iridescent pastel gems, and they're faceted. So I know that you guys that have them can just see how beautiful they are, and they just shimmer and shine. And I just love the colors because they go with this paper so beautifully well. But this paper, come on. I mean, this paper is like artwork. Okay.
It is,
We have to
right?
do
It
too
is.
much.
It is. It's truly like artwork. Like you could see these paintings. You could almost like see the brushstrokes and the that acrylic paint just like stuck
Yes.
on there.
I mean, look at that. It's gorgeous. Just
Mhm.
beautiful. I mean, so many colors, so many options. There's your gray, Betsy. Here's my bright colors, but there's your brown. So there's a lot. It's just
That,
really pretty. I mean, this looks
yeah.
like a sun. You could use this for a sunshine or sunset. It's just gorgeous. And then these dies are really unique too, because not only do you get the dies that cut out the flowers, but you have this beautiful full page die that's a single die that is so intricate. And I know you're going to show us how to use that. So I'm super excited to see that. And it's always nice when a suite has double bundles, and
Yes.
this one definitely does. So the two-tone flora, as you can see, doesn't have any greetings, but then the other stamp set that comes with it in that whole collection is something fancy that has all kinds of wonderful greetings. Just a good selection of everything. So I really love that. And then I know later, Betsy, you're going to show us um, the the dies that go with that, because you're going to
Yes.
use that
Yeah.
on one of your
I have that and can definitely show that. Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. The
So,
whole collection just goes together. It flows together so well.
yeah. So you're ready to get started?
Yep, you're already ready, spotlighted, and ready to go. Go for it.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with this card. This is what we're calling card number one. Thank you, card number one, for Two-Tone Flora. And I really love this card, Betsy, because it's very simple stamping, but having this little frame and popping it up makes this card just go from basic to advanced. And I really love that about it. So I'm going to show you what you get in the packet. Now, you're going to get two of everything. I've only got one here. And of course, you're going to have your envelope. And then it's no color, but we're going to make, I know it looks like that's pretty boring, but we're going to make this beautiful card with lots of ink. So what you're going to get is a frame that we've pre-die cut using the stitched rectangles. And then I've included the piece that came out of the inside for you to use as your scrap. you may or may not get that
Yeah, I
depending.
was
And
gonna
then you
say,
have,
you're not getting that in mine. I did not
okay,
include that in my
that's
pack.
fine. That's fine. This is actually, and now that I see it, this is actually
Oopsie.
a mistake piece. So you may not get it in mine either. Then you're going to get this is thick white when we're using the card bases. I like to use the thick. It just is a much more substantial. Some people like to score their card base. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends what kind of mood I'm in today. I'm just going to do it. Then you're going to have a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4. That's just going to layer on. And then this is going to be your frame. And this will be for stamping your pieces and die cutting. So it's a super simple card, but let me show you a little bit about how we do it. So I'm going to set some things aside here. I'm going to bring in some scrap paper because we're going to do a little bit of stamping off at some point. So I am going to bring in my colors. I'm going to show you my ink colors. Hold on just a minute. Here are the colors that I use: Calypso Coral, Fresh Freesia, Parakeet Party, Orchid Oasis, and Granny Apple Green. So it's a lot of color.
Those
That's
colors are so you. Oh my
they're-
gosh. If
they
you can
are.
pick, let's
I
see how many
know.
bright colors you can put on your card.
I know. I was thinking that you were probably going, seriously? Do you think you could put any more bright colors on there? But that's okay. It's
Mine are
okay.
so muted in comparison. Yours are so bright and cheery. I just have such a hard time I just have such a hard time with the bright. They always come out so beautiful, but I just look at those bright colors and I think they intimidate me.
We're going to start with some of the leaves, okay? And the secret to this card is really making sure that when you're stamping your card base that you're bringing it in. You're bringing it in so that you've only got a small section here. So your tendency is going to want to go right around this corner and right around this corner. Go ahead and bring your stamping in. And if you get to the point where you're unsure, use this as a guide, kind of stick it in there and go, oh no, I still need another leaf out there. So let's see how I do. It's been a while since I stamped this. So I'm going to just start with the Parakeet Party. And I'm going to stamp a couple of the leaves like this. And I'm kind of coming out into my frame now. So you can see, if I put that there, see how you've got the leaves there. And we're going to do a little bit of that on the bottom.
It's like
Kind
you're
of
just building and building and building,
Yes,
right?
it's very this could be very however you want it. So it's not, you don't have to do it just like me, is what I'm saying, is don't like worry about it. So there's our Parakeet Party. Now we're going to take the double leaves right here and I'm going to stamp that in the Granny Apple, and I want to kind of fill in some of those spots. I'm going to come here into my frame. And you'll see, I'm going to do it right here. So you can see I'm even doing mine a little bit different, and that's okay. I just want to always be putting this on here and going, yeah, I like that. Okay, so now we're going to fill in a little bit here. And there. Whoops. I got to make sure I go into the right green. And I'm going to put them way up here. Well, I got two open here. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell. And then again, comparing, I like that a lot. I'm going to stop right there with my green. And then I'm going to take my scrap paper while I have it, as I need 2 leaves here. So I'm going to stamp with the Granny Apple 2 sets of leaves on my scrap paper before I put that away. So I'm going to keep that. That's going to be die cut. And then I'm going to close these. Now I'm done with these.
I did that the other day. I stamped a Night of Navy ink into a pink. I don't remember which pink it was. Ink pad. Oh yeah, that was like, oh, that was fun.
Kind of a nightmare, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to give you a little tips on doing the any of the flowers that have, and I'm going to say this many times, and I'm sure Betsy's going to too. But when you're stamping any of the flowers, a lot of times I like to do the little highlights first.
Detail.
The detail
There you go.
first. So I'm going to do that with the Calypso Coral, and I'm going to do some Calypso Coral. I'm just going to do the highlight part. It's going to look very funny. And I've got one kind of in here. I don't know how much of that I'll see. And then I've got one kind of clustered down here. I'm kind of looking at my sample, but it could be whatever you want. Now, I'm going to stamp that off, and I'm going to try to find that center. I'm going to see. I might need to turn it around. I just have to, you have to kind of see.
It takes a little playing with. It's not one of those that
Yeah.
you just, I mean, you kind of want to look at the images and see how they line up and take a look at it a little bit, but they do line up. You just have to kind of get your
Yeah,
head over top of it, right?
the hardest part is remembering to stamp off. It really is, you know?
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
I'm trying not, I probably got my head in. I can see a little bit, but I'm trying
You're
not to
fine.
put my head in. And then I think this is my last one. And all you're doing is you're kind of putting those little dots right inside. So I'm thinking that I have this one backwards. Yeah, there, that one fits much better. Right like that, okay?
Mhm.
So there's my greenery and my Calypso coral. So I'm done with Calypso coral.
The nice part about the two-step stamping is that you can have one ink pad, but get so many different kinds of flowers or colors because of the just stamping off and
Yes.
getting the different generations, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. So now I'm going to do my pieces here. I'm going to start with my fresh freesia. This is the detailed stamp. I'm going to stamp it here. I'm going to ink this up, stamp off, and then I'm matching up the little stamens in the center. Am I stamping on camera?
Yep, you got it.
There.
You're good.
So that's the fresh freesia here. And then I'm going to stamp this is Orchid Oasis, again, working with the detail. I need two of those. I need two of these. So I'm going to stamp the two detailed ones full strength. I'm going to come in, stamp off. I've got to get this so that, again, that stamen is what I'm looking for.
Do you think Orchid Oasis is a purple or do you think Orchid Oasis is a blue?
You know, it depends. Sometimes I see it as a purple and sometimes I see it as a blue. I know it sounds so strange, but I think, I don't know. I just do sometimes.
I think it depends on what, maybe
Blue.
it's
It
what.
feels kind of blue here.
Yeah, it does. It feels kind of blue. You would think next that purple would pull out more of the purple, but now I see it more as blue.
Yeah, it looks very blue, but you'll see the big difference when I go to the Starry Sky on the next card. It's quite dark. So I'm going to go ahead and die cut that out, and I've already got that done for you. So here's my pieces. And I'm going to still keep my, I'm a really weirdo. I don't like dirty script paper.
You and me both. Oh my gosh, I'm the same way. I was at an event and somebody had like their workstation, and I mean it was just completely stamped and written on and drawn on. I couldn't do it. It would drive me absolutely bonkers.
I know I can't do it. It just drives
me. Gotta have it clean.
Yeah, my friends laugh at me, but I'm like, I have to have a clean surface. Plus, I don't want you to see all that mess.
Yeah,
so
nope.
I'm laying the frame down, and I want to put my greeting, which is thank you, and I'm going to put that right here on my card, just like that. I'm going to leave my frame here. What I'm going to do now is I want to show you a fun. I'm going to close this up because I don't want to. I don't want to flick ink. I'm going to show you a fun. Kind of a fun flicking, I don't know, what do you call that? Splatter technique?
Splatter, I love splatter. I'm a splatter girl.
Yeah, this is dark balmy blue. And I want to do this before I put my card on my card base because I want this card base to stay clean. But you know what, if you skip this and go back later and do it, that's okay too. But I want it on the frame. So I'm going to lay the frame down and I'm taking the tip of my marker. Be super gentle with this. And all I'm doing is I am lightly kind of flicking. Can you see it? Does it show up on the?
It does. Oh my gosh, I love that. I love it. Yeah.
So just a light blue flicking. Okay. And then hopefully I get this in the right place when I put it down. But now I'm going to, this is where you can use all those little edges on your dimensionals. I love this. Let me find my scissors. So I'm going to just cut a bunch of these little pieces off the edge. If you have those laying around, and you know we all do.
Yep.
This is
we don't want to throw them
out. The best place to use it is on a frame like this.
Well, that's perfect. They fit in there perfectly, don't they?
Yes, it's just perfect. You know, you could use mini dimensionals too, but I like to use these because I get a little bit more coverage. I want
Mm-hmm.
I have another, do I have another? Yeah, here. I like the skinny
The
edge.
skinnier edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna put a little bit there, and I'm gonna put a little more here around the corner. Okay, so now I'm gonna get rid of all that. No, no, no. Make a little pile. Okay, then I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna put my frame on and I'm gonna try to get it centered. Whoops, stuck. Don't. Sorry, I just try not to get my head in the camera, but sometimes I can't help it.
You're fine.
It's a little crooked, but it's not bad. It's not horrible.
You know what you
Okay.
do with a crooked card? You send it to a crooked person.
Oh, okay. The last, that's
You
funny.
know you have some crooked friends out there, right?
Oh yeah, use that, Jeff. So I'm gonna take my Daffodil Delight. I have, this is a light Daffodil Delight. I like, on this card, I like to add a little color because this card's all about color. So I'm adding a little to the center of each of these three flowers, the little stamens, okay? So it just finishes it off. The next card, I don't do that, but you don't really miss it. So I'm gonna start, I'm gonna use a little bit of my favorite liquid adhesive, and I'm going to put a little bit on here, and hopefully it's where I want it on the frame. I think I can just go right here. I might have to pull it out a little. You might have to put, yeah, let's see. I'm going to pull it out just a little bit more. Maybe if I put it on the
It's
frame.
building it, right? It's
Yeah,
just
I'm building it.
building as you
So
go. Yeah.
I could put my, actually I can put my there and then I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm adding this flower here and that's built that little cluster of our bouquet of flowers right there.
Pretty. So pretty.
And a little bit of greenery here. However it works for your card. And then finish off with this last little Orchid Oasis flower.
Love it.
So pretty. Okay, and then let's bring in our card base, which we have here. We'll finish it off and then we'll add some gems. The only thing I didn't do is, well, a couple things, is when I had my flowers out, I probably should have stamped my envelope, right? So
Mhm.
and then stamped a little bit on the inside. I am going to just leave this as a thank you card. I think that me personally, when I'm sending a thank you card, I have something to say. So I'm
Right.
going to thank you for something specific, right? So I want to leave a lot of room inside. So I'm going to leave this as a note card. Now, Betsy, I'm not sure. Did you add some layers for yours?
I did not. I did not send them any colored layers. I did send them a piece of very vanilla, or is that very vanilla or visceral
It's
basic
white.
white? It's
Basic.
white. I think I sent them a piece of basic white. Then they could add a layer of color because you could do any of those colors, right? Because maybe they're not coloring and then maybe they're not stamping in the same colors we are, right? So that biggest flower, you did fresh freesia, I think. You could use a fresh freesia piece of cardstock, but if maybe you didn't choose that as your accent color or your
that's
highlighted
exactly
color.
right.
You could
That's
then mix
exactly
and
right. So
match
you
it.
could stamp a few flowers on the inside.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
when it comes to adding your gems, I like to use the odds. So 3, 5, whatever. I'm going to use 3. But look at this goes with the fresh freesia. This goes with the Orchid Oasis. This goes with the Calypso Coral. So this one I use the kind of the clear one. I think on this one I'm going to use the Calypso Coral and bring in some of that color just like this. And then I'm going to go with one of the larger ones, just like that, and bring it down here. So I kind of like that. That's just showing you how you can kind of do it your own way. So that is card number 1.
Beautiful.
Okay. And I'm not even going to stamp my envelope. I'm going to let you guys stamp your envelope however you want. You probably don't need to see me.
You know how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so the dies that she used to create the frame that we sent you, that was the stitched rectangles.
That's correct.
The stitched rectangle dies, and we used 2 of those to create that little frame for you.
Yeah, so I'm going to bring in the colors. I'm going to bring in Calypso Coral and Fresh Freesia for the second card. And for this one, I'm going to show you my I need those stamps. I use Fresh Freesia, Calypso Coral, Soft Succulent, Starry Sky, and Petal Pink, which you can hardly see that, but
I know, right?
those are the colors that I use. I know this one's really faded, but so now we went from really brights like Parakeet Party to more, I call these yummy colors. So
Yeah.
these are like ice cream colors, right? Maybe not this one, but you know, really yummy ice cream colors. I don't know why do I do that. I'm not sure.
Because you might be a little bit of an ice cream addict.
Yeah, I like ice cream.
Yeah,
So
that might be the problem.
it's not a problem. I didn't see it as
It's
a
not a
problem.
problem. That's right. It's not a
I'm
problem.
not sure
It's a
what you're
good
talking
thing.
about. So this card is super easy. It's super fun, and it's a great way to showcase and highlight designer series paper, which is so beautiful. And it's got a fancy fold, and a simple fancy fold, not a fancy hard fancy fold, just a simple fancy fold. Like sometimes you just want to take a card, you know, you know, this is what we do every day. This is what we do every day. We do
Yeah.
a 5.5 by 4.25. Well, sometimes this just is a little bit different. So your card base is 5.5 by 7.5. Wait, I'm going to change my sheet so that I don't tell you something wrong. So 5.5 by 7.5. Your designer series paper is 5.25 by 3 here. Your white is 5.25 by 3. And then your strip is going to be the strip that you cut off when you cut your paper down. You cut it down from 6 to 5.5. Yeah, is that right? 6 from 5.25. So this is the 3/4 inch strip, and then you cut it down to 5.5. So on this card, I use this paper, but on the card I'm going to show you, I'm using a little different paper.
When I did the packets for my folks, I did not cut it down to 7.5. I left it at 8.5. So what you're going to want to, what they would do is just cut off an inch off the end, right?
Right, that's it. All you're doing is cutting an inch off the half and the end, and then you're scoring it at 4.25, just like a regular card. So it's not like you have to think too hard about it. I want my card base to be 5.5 by 4.25. I'm going to score it at 4.25, and then this is what's left over, this 3.25, right?
Yep.
So it's going to fold just like that. You're also going to get a scallop die, stitch scallop die from the contour dies, and we've cut those for you. And then again, I just threw in a piece of scrap, and this is the one I'm using here. This is for your inside, your 3 by 4 and 5.25. And then I wanted to show you how this paper kind of fits together. So you've got, I don't know if I can do this or not. I think it kind of went like this. So here's your 6 inches, right? And here is the piece that goes up here. So you cut it, I cut it by 5.25, and then that gave me my 3/4, which I cut down to 5.5, and then I cut this in half. So you can actually get 2 of the fronts, and then you would just need another scrap. So I got thinking, I used the kind of the acrylic paint one. This is the more flowers, and I thought this was pretty too. So I could see it both ways, because this is going to go over that. I kind of, this is pretty, and but you lose some of that. I kind of like this because it's got more design here, and then this is kind of empty where your stamping is. Does that make sense? And then this is going to go here, which is what they're going to see when they open it. That is just a gorgeous piece of paper. Now, this is the other side. You could flip it. That's what I did on this card. I flipped it over. So this is the back side of this. That's okay. But I like
it doesn't work quite as well on that one as it did on the other one. Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and do some gluing right away. That's some taping down, and I'm going to use this. This is the piece that I picked. So I'm going to put that. Looks like I need to use my own folder to get a good crisp edge. It wants to keep popping up. Okay. And then this piece right here, it just fits right in there. Okay. So you could go like this, you can go like that. I kind of like it like that because this is just the floral designer in me. The blue to me is heavier, and I want the heavy at the bottom. So
Very smart. I wouldn't have thought, I wouldn't have put that, I wouldn't have
Yeah,
thought
it's
about that. Yeah.
I have issues.
Yeah.
There's certain things,
Yeah. Yeah.
bigger
It makes
flowers, I
sense.
want them down. I don't know, it's
Well,
just strange.
well, they say that with card making, one of the things that I've always heard is that think about it top, bottom, left, right, just like you were reading, right? So
Yeah,
your eyes drawn from the top left to the bottom right, and to have it
right.
heavier on that bottom right makes more sense.
I'm gonna clean off the stamps that I'm changing color on are this large one that we used on the other card. So I'm gonna quickly clean those off on my chamois. I think everything, oh no, the leaf too. With the leaf, we're changing that to from
Mhm.
Granny Apple to soft sea foam. So we want that one cool. So that's as easy as that. Now, my tip on this piece right here is you're going to bring in your Starry Sky. And I think it's super important to go ahead and stamp your greeting first. And you want that to be up near the stitch corner, because otherwise you're not going to have enough room for these. They're going to end up falling off your card. See, I barely made it on there.
Oh yeah.
Get it on there. See, it's hitting the end and I barely did on there. So the goal is to get it up in that corner. Now, I think that my stamp is mounted a little crooked. I think when I put my greeting on, my sticker,
Mhm.
I don't know if you can see it. Let me hold it up here. The
It does
sticker.
look just a little like it's going downhill a little bit.
So what we do, right? I'm going to stamp it twice. I'm going to stamp it the way the sticker says. That looks like it's straight. See, look it's going downhill to the left. So I'm going to stamp it again. I'm going to tilt it just a little.
Mm-hmm.
These are the silly things we do. Look at perfect right down that line.
Yep.
So I know that when I stamp this in that corner, I try not to get my sleeve in it. I need to tilt it just a little and go up as far as I can, and hopefully I get it straight.
I find that I'm heavy, like you're talking about the plants being heavy. I'm heavy right-handed, so it's like I always know that I have to bring my right arm down when I'm stamping because I tend to go too high on the right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. While I have the blue out, I'm going to stamp. So our greeting says, I didn't forget your birthday. I'm just stretching out the celebration.
Perfect.
I just got ink all over that, so I'm going to flip that over. I've got a little ink up there too, but hopefully that's
Those
here.
blues, I'm telling you, the other night
Oh,
I was talking to some friends and I'm like, those blue ink pads just seem to want to get you covered every time you touch them.
You know the one I have the worst trouble with is Blackberry Bliss. I don't know, it
Is
does
it?
not like me. Blackberry Bliss
Oh yeah,
does
night
not
of
like
Daisy
me.
for me. I wear it
Oh,
every time.
doesn't like me at all. All right, so I'm gonna go and do my Calypso coral again. Same thing we did before, doing the detail part first. We're gonna come up here, stamp the detail, come down here, stamp the detail, come in, stamp off, see where it fits. If we have to flip it around, I don't think so. I think that's perfect. You know, sometimes I amaze myself. Yeah,
Hey, you got it, girlfriend. You got it.
beautiful. Okay,
You know what you're doing.
now we need a couple little leaves. We're done with the Calypso coral. We're going to bring in the leaves. We're going to stretch them out up here. Stretch them out all the way over here because we've got two flowers that are coming on here. So, you know, again, you can stamp your envelope while you're doing it if you want to stamp your inside. I'm leaving the inside plain and I'll show you why in a minute. Now on my scrap paper, I stamped, I'm not going to do that for you because I actually did it ahead of time. So all you're going to need is pretend that I'm stamping that. So you're going to stamp your detail dark and then stamp off. And then I did that in petal pink. It looks a little bit like the Calypso coral. It looks a little bit like the pale papaya.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
use petal pink. I use petal pink. And then the other one, I use fresh freesia. And that's this flower. I have it here. This one's a little different. This is a full flower and it's super easy because it's got these little dots to line up. So you won't be able to see it here, but when you guys are looking at your stamps, you'll see those little dots. So super easy to line up. So then I die cut those out for you.
Excellent.
Okay, so let's see how I did as far as fitting this on. So what I would recommend is first of all, we got to get rid of this. we are going to put this on before we put the flowers on, because we want to center it and make sure our flower doesn't go off the edge, right? So we only want to put glue on this side of our die cut. And so I'm going to just take a little glue here, and I'm going to center it just like that. Pretty, pretty, pretty. And then I'm going to see how I did here. That's not bad. I can go all the way to the edge there if I want, and then bring that in. I can go down and go up.
That's perfect.
Yeah, just to see, you know, where my, if you don't feel comfortable, keep your glue on here. Just keep your glue on there like that. If you're worried about there getting glue, that's probably my best tip for you, to keep the glue on your die cut. There's a little
I
bit
saw
of
you do that earlier with the frame, and that's a really good idea, because I probably wouldn't have thought to do it on the frame. I would have done it right on the back of the flower, and then guaranteed it would have gone off the edge of the frame.
Yeah, it's really nice, because then you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. Now is where I'm going to go super crazy with the embellishments. And this is why I'm glad that I didn't use the, you know what, if you got them, use them. This is what I say about this. So I just went crazy. I used 2 of the little bluish. I used 2 of the little calypso. So
you can never go wrong with too much bling.
I mean, you missed the person's birthday, for goodness sakes, give them a little bling, right? Don't you think?
Very good. Very good reasoning there. Very good reasoning.
Let them know that you really do mean a lot to me. I'm going to use all the bling that I can to show you how much you mean to me. So now I'm going to add my bling inside.
I'm so sorry. I gave you all my bling.
I love you. I'm
That's
sorry.
so funny.
So I added extra bling. So the reason that I'm not stamping on here, and you can stamp it your way, I already have this strip. I want this to be my color, my floral on the inside. I want to tell them why I forgot their birthday and how special they are, and how I won't do that next year. So I'm going to leave that plain just like that. And then there's card number 2, happy birthday, belated happy birthday. And it's a super simple fold. So I want you to remember that when you're doing this fold, that you, whoops, I'm just trying to give you this. When you're doing that fold, that you should remember that fold when you're doing other cards, right? So, you know,
it's great, right?
It's an easy one. It's an easy one. And we don't, that's the thing, you know, sometimes I'm sitting at my desk and I'm designing, and I forget about, like, well, why don't I just make this something easy, right? And but something different, so that they go, oh yeah, how do I open that? Or, oh, that opens from here. And so
I get into that rut myself, just in like card making. It's like I always have the same, you know, that same fold all the time, and it's just so easy to fall back on that. And just giving yourself something different, just cutting an inch off is enough to give it a little bit more something. Right?
That's right.
Right. Absolutely.
So I can't wait to see your cards.
Oh my goodness. Let's hope I remember. Like you said, it's been so long since I've touched these. Let's remember and see if I can remember how to put them together. That's going to be the goal here. So you should be able to see my desktop. Do you see that, Mary Ellen?
Yes, I see it.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So the first card that I'm doing is this one. This is card number 3. And it's such a pretty little card. It's super, super simple, right? But that, again, that designer series.
It's got the yummy colors, Betsy.
It's got the yummy colors, right? Yeah. So this is actually just 2 yummy colors, the Coastal Cabana and the Fresh Freesia is what I'm doing with it. And the reason I pulled these colors is because I'm looking at the paper. So that designer series paper, remember that on the back of it or in the catalog, it tells you what the colors are. So if you're ever looking at this paper going, well, I want to use what's in there, but I don't know what those are, look at the back. Okay. But the funny thing here is that Coastal Cabana is actually not one of the colors. I pulled that out of there because I thought some of those blues, they look Coastal Cabana, don't they?
Oh, they totally do. I would have never known that. They
Right? Even
definitely
though
look
it
like it.
doesn't, yeah, the paper doesn't say that it has Coastal Cabana, but anymore, Stampin' Up's papers have so much variation to them in the coloring that you can mix and match and you don't necessarily have to always stick to those. So I had Coastal Cabana, even though it's not really in that paper. So I'm just making it up. I make it up as I go. All right.
I
So
love it.
in your packet, you have the Fresh Freesia card base, right? Easy. We're just going to fold that in half. Bone folder there. And just like what Mary Ellen was doing, I have a piece for on the front, but then I have a piece that I'm going to do as an accent in the inside, right? So it's the same piece of paper. I just cut off one side of it so that I'm adding the accent to the inside like that. You could also, now I didn't do it on this one, but you could also, if you have extra paper, put it on the flat. Wouldn't that be pretty?
Yes.
Because then you could have all the pieces kind of matching together. You have a piece for the inside. You've got then these two pieces for on the front of your card. This is what we're going to be stamping on. And then you have a small greeting. And this is the dies that we wanted to show you. So Mary Ellen had showed you the stamp set earlier. I have it here. The stamp set earlier, which is the Something Fancy. This is the die set that goes with that. And you get all of these border dies with it. It is so nice. Lots of things that you can do with it. I'm using this one for this card. And then for my second card, I'm using this die. Actually, I think it's this one that I'm using for the second one. So I have the second fancy, Something Fancy, and we're cutting that for you in your packet.
That's one of my favorite die sets because all those, that's like whenever you're showcasing designer series paper that's so beautiful like this, sometimes what you need is a little tag or a little greeting on it. That's all you need. So it's one of my favorites.
That is it. Exactly. It just adds so much to it. Now you saw me slip my little Stampin' mat underneath because we are using photopolymer stamps. So when we're working with photopolymer, it does help to have a mat underneath you just to give it a little extra cushion. But here's a technique that I don't do very often, and I did it for this card, and it's a little out of my comfort zone, is that the designer series paper is not like cut in. Normally I would cut 1/4 of an inch in and I would have it layered, right? Where you have this border showing, but this is not. This is cut to exactly fit and cover the entire front. Do you do that very often?
I don't do it very often, but I see it a lot. I've seen it more and more lately, and I think it's perfect for a paper when the paper is as gorgeous as that paper.
I do. I also am seeing it a lot more, right? Where it's like they're not cutting it down. They're just putting the entire piece of designer series paper on. Now, you could do this a couple ways. Like I can match into one corner and then match it as it goes across, right? Sometimes I just tap it on my desktop just to make sure that all of my corners are all lined up. And there's my card base where I don't see any of the Fresh Freesia until I open it. How about that, right?
Love it.
I love that. I need to do that more. Okay, so with the stamping, just like what Mary Ellen was doing, there's the detailed stamp and then there's the solid image. With this one, I kind of tried to watch, this is the floral that I'm using, this one, and then this little guy here. So I tried to watch where this little oval is. Let me see if I don't have a, like that little, where the center of the flower would be.
Yeah, a little moon shape.
Yeah, that little moon shape. That's it. Yeah. So I'm watching that on the stamps when I go to put this together so that I can see that I'm lining it up correctly. So I'm going to use the Fresh Freesia and I'm going to use the detail first. And that's full strength. And I'm just going to kind of get an idea, just like she did with the frame. I want to see where it's going to line up. So I want to give myself an idea. And I'm going to say there. All right. And then I'm going to stamp the other one. Now, instead of me trying to maneuver my block, I just turn my paper. And I'm going to stamp down here. So that I'm not having to try to fumble to figure out which way this is going. Move your paper, and that saves you from having to mess with your stamp as much. All right, so I'm going to now do this one, and I'm just going to stamp off here. And again, I'm looking at that moon-shaped crescent and then stamping on top. Isn't that easy? It's so much easier to line that up when you find something in the stamp and it lines up right like that. Look how pretty that is.
Beautiful.
And then for the, while I have the fresh freesia out, I'm going to go ahead and stamp my greeting. And the nice thing about this is that you could stamp, I did happy birthday. You could stamp pretty much anything in there. Remember, scrap paper is your friend. Always try to stamp on your scrap paper first, see what it looks like. And you don't have to be crazy like us and rip it off every time you got ink on it. You could stamp this with the coral if you wanted, the Coastal Cabana if you wanted to, or a different color. I just stayed with a fresh freesia for that. And I'm going to get rid of this one. Hopefully don't put my fingers in it. And then I'm going to use these small ones. I guess I didn't give you the measurements, did I? The fresh freesia, your card base is 4 1/4 by 11. And then this small piece is just 3 by 4. And then this white piece is 2 7/8 by 3 7/8, which Mary Ellen's probably laughing at me right about now because she knows.
Oh my gosh, I wasn't going to say anything, but I am cracking up because that's usually my MO. And you're always like, oh my gosh, why did you use 7/8? I am loving it. I'm loving it.
I am not a 7/8 fan, but it's like, oh my gosh, you just kind of have to do it. Just when you want that little sliver of color, you just got to kind of have to do it. So yes, I went with the 7/8.
I was trying to be quiet, Betsy. I wasn't going to say anything, but I was laughing inside.
I am the worst when it comes to that. Yes, I do. I complain. I'm like, I got to cut it 7/8. Same way with this little flower. I'm just looking at that little center area, matching it up. And again, just moving my paper around and stamping where that needs to go, just like that. And you know what? And if it doesn't line up exactly, who's going to know? Who is going to know that that didn't go exactly where you think it should, right?
Yeah, but
now,
really the secret is definitely doing the dark detailed first. That really
I agree with that. Yeah, because I was struggling with it. It was like I was trying to line it up and you're trying to go with a darker end of a light. It's easier to go the lighter end of the dark, right? So do the detail and then have the bigger image go over top of it. I agree.
Yeah, our intuition is to want to stamp the full image and then add the detail later. That's the thing.
Yep.
But
this is better. This is easier. In your packet is also, you've gotten in your whole packet on your kit, you got a whole roll of the Coastal Cabana twine, which is just, again, yummy, like that whole like ice cream yummy color, right? And it's about 5 inches. Now, when this comes in, I could have just used this directly behind my greeting, but it just looked kind of chunky, right? It just looked kind of, I didn't really care for it. So one of the things that you can do with this twine is that you can pull it apart. So it's got all of these various strands in it. Now you can use take your pick tool to kind of help you with this along the way. So I'm going to use the paper piercing end and I can just kind of pick apart, find an area, and then I just kind of pull. I find an area, put my little paper piercer in there, and I just pull. And what I'm doing is I'm pulling those various threads apart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's great.
Right? So that I'm now, instead of having like one big chunky piece, I've got like 5 or 6 little strands that are much thinner, softer.
Delicate.
Yes, a little bit more of a delicate look to it, right? So now that when I put that together, kind of mishmash it, there's no right way or wrong way to put this ribbon on, right? This twine. I know some people are like, I can't get that twine to do what I want it to do. Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just kind of throw it on there. Throw it on there where you want it, just like that. I'm going to add some dimensionals to the back of this. And I am a dimensional fan, so Crazy Me is going to use 3 of them on here. And don't worry.
You need it when you're doing twine like that. You need a lot of dimensionals to hold it down.
Exactly. And I don't have to glue that down. I don't have to try to tape that down. I don't have to try to do anything with it because the dimensionals are going to do the work for me. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and add my greeting where I want it to go, just like that. Easy, right?
Mm.
Add some adhesive to the back of this. Line that up. And then this is going to go on my card base. And again, I'm going to use dimensionals. Now, I wanted to share a couple little, it's good to hear beginner tips whenever you're thinking about stamping. I was at an event recently and there was just a couple little beginner tips that I think are always a good thing to remember. So when you're stamping, and I'll do this with my envelope so you can see it actually, or actually I'll do it with the inside. When you're stamping an image, okay, don't feel like you have to hurry. You're not hurting. The paper is not going to burn. Nothing's going to hurt it. Don't feel like you have to do that, right? I don't want to stamp quickly, right? What I want to do is I want to stamp and I want to let it set there a second. Let the ink absorb into it. The other thing that I want to do is I want to be able to use two hands. If you find, you'll see us, because we stamp frequently, you'll see us kind of stamp maybe with one hand. If I'm only stamping with one hand, but let's say that I didn't get a full image there. See that?
Yeah.
What happens is that if you find that you're missing or something's not working, you need to use two hands. Put two hands on that block, okay? And then hold it there and give it nice, even pressure with both hands. I'm not rocking, I'm not rolling, I'm not doing anything like that. All I'm doing is just giving it nice, even pressure. If you go too fast, you're not going to get a nice image. If you go with only one hand, you might only get half of it and not all of it. So think about that when you're stamping. Two hands, nice, even pressure. Hold it there for a second or two. Give that stamp, let that stamp do the work for you, right?
Do you feel like you have to hold the stamp, like push the stamp down really hard, Betsy?
No, the stamp really does the work for you. Now, photopolymer, maybe. Photopolymer, you might need to give it a little bit more pressure to really get it. But look at this. Okay, I might need to zoom in for you to see this. But as I'm stamping this, hopefully you can see it. I'm going to see here. As I stamp this, do you see the stamp change color?
Yeah.
Can you see that as it gets darker as I'm pushing?
Yeah.
Do you see it?
Yes.
So I know by looking at the stamp, if I've gotten a good image, if I'm taking my time. If I'm stamping this down and I'm not seeing that go the whole way across, I'm not getting a very good image, am I?
That's the best tip of the day.
Photopolymer, watch the back of the stamp because you can see how the ink changes as you push it down. Then you know you've got a nice solid image by looking through it. And it's the same way with the clear stamp or the cling stamps as well. Just give it time to sit on the paper and use two hands to get a better stamp.
Can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
You have this little saying that you talk about our ink pads and the new firm foam. Well, they're not new anymore. The firm foam pad. You have a little saying that you tell your customers. Can you tell us what that is?
I do. So what I do is I tell people, think of this as a little bunny. It's a little baby bunny. It's a cute baby bunny, and you're just giving it a little tap on the head. It's a little baby bunny. And actually, I'm not even tapping that or touching that. All I did was place that on there, right? It's a baby bunny. It's just a really nice little sweet little thing, and you don't want to hurt it. Versus I'm not squishing and killing any bugs. It's not a bug. I'm not squishing it. I'm not killing it. And when I do that, look at all the ink that's on my block.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you see that?
It's all over your block.
It's all over my block because I just squished that bug and I just tried to kill the heck out of that bug. Well, that didn't do me any good. Now I've got it. I'm going to rock and I'm going to roll and I'm going to get that halo. I'm going to get my block mark because now all that ink is sitting on my block. All I'm going to do is just pat the little bunny on the top of the head, get it nice and inked up. You don't need to squish any bugs.
I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, it's just a little baby bunny. I don't want to kill it. I'm not killing it. I'm just lightly tapping. And in some cases, because the ink sits right on the top, all I'm doing is placing it on the top.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything but putting it there. And look at that stamp.
And you save ink. You're not having all that ink all over your block that you're just putting into your chamois.
Nope. Exactly. It's so easy. Our foam pads take a little bit of learning to that learning curve of not wanting to, because felt pads, you could just slam away on those felt pads, right? Not with these. You want to have a gentle touch with this, but give yourself the chance to get the ink onto the paper. Don't rush it.
Betsy, you've got a little bit of a work of art there on your grid paper
I
right
do.
now. You
How
might
about
need to
that? All
save it.
kinds
It's
of
super
floral
pretty.
colors on there, right?
Yeah, it's pretty, really pretty.
Oh, wait till we get to the next card. My goodness. You think this is pretty? Oh my gosh, the next card's going to be messy, messy. Okay. So you get the point here. This is a pretty simple card. There's not a whole lot to it. You're going to stamp your inside. You've got your front, and you've got, of course, that designer series paper for the piece on the inside. You can stamp it any way you want. This is a stamp it your way kind of kit. It's just adding that greeting. And of course, you would add your rhinestones, which you saw how to do that. It's the same rhinestones that Mary Ellen was using on hers, and you can kind of mix and match the colors as you want. Pretty easy, right?
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, let's move on to the last card, number 4, because that one's got a lot to it. And this one's going to take me a couple minutes here to get through everything for you. Speaking of the colors that we're using, okay, now how I decided on my colors, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I found a piece of the designer series paper that I liked. And that's what I started working with first. I said, okay, what are the colors in this designer paper? And I pulled out soft suede, pool party, evening evergreen, calypso coral, and soft succulent. Now, if you had asked me to put those colors together, I'd have told you, ew, no. But when they're together in the paper, I'm like, well, that's pretty. I like that. So that's how I pulled these colors together. Now, for this one, we are using, let me pull in all my pieces here. There's a lot of pieces that I've got going on here with this one. So here's the card that we're doing. Isn't that pretty? Mm-hmm. I showed this to a customer and she said it looked like velvet. She said, it feels like that should have like a texture to it, but it's not. It's completely flat. There's nothing there. So what I'm using is the die, this large die. I'm using this die to create a stencil. Okay, I'll bring the colored one in here so you can see it. I'm using this die to create this stencil to make this card.
Yeah,
so
it
let
looks
me
like there's an overlay on it, but there's not, huh?
There is not. No, and I'm actually going to show you one that has an overlay so you can see the difference. Okay. But we're going to do it where we don't have an overlay over the top. This is just flat cardstock that we're just going to use it as a stencil. So let me show you how I got this first, because these large dies like this can be a little tricky to use. So for example, when I first started doing it, the first time I started cutting it, I kept getting this. Well, that looks like a hot mess, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? So, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but it actually didn't cut the whole way through. I was hoping my camera would catch up, but I don't think it is. Yeah, there you go. Can you see that?
Yes, you can.
So when you flip it over, it's like, that's not cutting the whole way through. Well, that's just going to cause me more and more aggravation. And one of the things that Stampin' Up! has taught us recently, especially with the new little mini machine, the boho machine that came out, is that everybody's machines are different. The tension within the machine is very different. So what might cut easily on my machine might not cut easily on yours, or vice versa. So when I'm running this through, I'm having a heck of a time getting that to cut the whole way through. Even with, so what you want to do is you want to figure out your machine, figure out what works for your machine. So in that case, I was using wax paper. And what I do is I put the paper down, and then I put a piece of wax paper down, and then I put the die over top of the wax paper. The wax paper can help this die kind of just release a little bit of those die cuts that it's doing. The other thing that I found was that I needed a shim. I needed to have an extra piece of cardstock. Imagine this is cardstock, but I had to have an extra piece of cardstock on top of mine. So I had my paper, I had wax paper, the die, another piece of paper, and then my plate on top. And then I ran it through and back again. And that seemed to work better in the fact that it cut out for me pretty nicely at that point. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So depending on your machine, you just might have to play with it a little bit to get that to work. Okay. So that's one tip. Tip number 2 on this Okay, and I'm going to use a thicker, I'm going to use regular cardstock versus like a basic white. Basic white can be a little thin when I'm trying to use it as a stencil. So I like using a piece of cardstock or thick basic white because it just has a little bit of a firmer feel when I'm trying to sponge around it. So I'm going to keep that one out. Now, the other thing that actually I'm going to show you that after the fact. I'll show you that one. I'll show you the second tip whenever we get to that end of it. Okay, that sound good?
Yes.
All right. So what we have in our packet is you've got your envelope. You have got your Calypso Coral card base. We're just going to fold that in half. And then you have soft succulent. Okay. And you have some very vanilla. Now, I don't know, but I have a funny feeling soft succulent's one of the colors that's going to be retiring, but I have a kind of a sneaky kind of feeling, and this is just me speculating, is that soft succulent might be a color that sticks around. What do you think?
Oh, I hope so. It's one of my favorites.
Is it? Yeah. So the 29th. So today, when we're premiering this, we should know more about what the color renovation is going to be and what's going to happen with that color renovation. So, but don't wait. If you've got favorites, you want to make sure you definitely stock up on them. But soft succulent is one of those that's supposed to be retiring. We just don't know yet if it truly is, if it may be, fingers crossed, it comes back. But you have two pieces of very vanilla. You have two of the die cut frame that we have for you. And then you have a piece of, you actually have two pieces of this distressed gold. I love this distressed gold. This I'm hoping they keep, right? It's so pretty. And you're going to die cut two of the leaves, leaf patterns for each of your cards. So you'll end up with 4 leaf patterns, 2 for each card. Okay. So that are the pieces that you have. And then a piece that is off of the designer series paper to accent for the inside so that it just kind of mixes, matches again. So let's show you how to do the hard part here. Let me slide this all out of the way. Okay.
Did they get a piece of cardstock to make their stencil?
You know what? That's a very good question.
I should know that, but I'm like, I was just looking at your list.
They did. They got they actually got 2 pieces of they got 4 pieces of very vanilla. Yes, they did. They got a very vanilla that is 5.5 by 4 1/4, which is a quarter sheet of paper. They got that to make their stencil because this fits that 5.5. So like if this is a full sheet of paper, you can see it fits that full sheet of paper, that full quarter sheet. So you should have 1 piece of very vanilla in there to create 1 stencil using a 5.5 by 4 1/4 piece.
Okay.
Yep. Yep. No, good question. I'm glad you asked.
I see it on there now. I see it on the
Yep.
tutorial.
Yep. I'm just using green. I am just using this because it was a scrap piece that I had, and it was a way for you to be able to see it a little better versus me trying to do vanilla on vanilla. Okay. All right. So I'm going to take one of my pieces of very vanilla, which is 5 by 3 3/4, which is going to be the front piece. And what I want to do is I want to put my stencil over top. Okay. So my stencil is a little bit bigger, and I did that on purpose just so that I could get right to the borders our whole way around that piece. And I'm going to use our masking paper, Stampin' Up's masking paper. Masking paper comes in these sheets. And it's got just this little adhesive, little paper on the back. And this is sticky, it's like a super, super sticky Post-it note. Really, really sticky. If you were using it on a regular, like on a card, I would say you might want to de-sticky it a little bit against your clothing. But in this case, I'm just using it to hold my mask down. So I'm not too worried about it being overly sticky. Okay. And what I want to do is I'm going to peel that off. And I'm going to actually slide this towards me a little bit more. And I'm going to use this to hold my stencil in place. I'm not covering up my cardstock underneath it. I'm just covering the stencil part. Just to hold that in place for me. You could use.
Yeah. Okay. You were just going to say, if they don't have masking.
Yes. What were you going to suggest?
No, Post-it notes, maybe.
Post-it notes, washi tape also works.
Yes.
Post-it notes, washi tape, anything that is going to allow you to kind of hold it in place but still allow you to remove it after the fact. And I'm going to get rid of my mat because I
I
don't
like
really need
painter's tape too. Painter's tape
painter's
works.
tape. Yep, because it releases so well.
Yes.
Yep. I'm going to get rid of my mat because I really don't need that. Now for coloring, what you want to do is I'm going to be using all of these ink pads. So let me pull this out and I'm going to bring in my soft suede and I'm going to bring in my pool party and my evening evergreen, my calypso coral. This might be a big mistake to do it this way. We'll find out. And my soft succulent. Okay. I am using the blending brushes. Okay. Now we do have these new mini blending brushes. How adorable are those things, right? So you can kind of see the size difference. There you go. There's the size difference. You could also, if you don't have blending brushes, you could use a sponge dauber or a couple sponge daubers for the different colors, or you could use just a regular sponge if you have that. But these are so nice because my hands don't get as messy with these, right? Is that what you find works best for you?
I love them. You know what? I got to tell you a little funny. You know, I told you my son got married. I took
Yes.
I took a small blending brush and a large blending brush and used it for putting on my makeup because you know that's what those are for originally. They're like makeup brushes, and then we've taken them into the craft world. So, I was putting on my foundation, and that's what I use now. So I have a small one and a large one in my bathroom. Isn't that funny?
They are. I'm sitting here playing with it. It's like it's so soft.
Mhm.
It's so soft. I'll try to use one of the small ones here. I haven't actually used the small ones yet. I've been using the large ones. Now I have large ones that I've been, you can see mine are very well loved. I just keep them by color. Like this is more of a blue. This is also kind of a blue. And then I have like the brown and I have the coral one. I just kind of use them. And again, I use my scratch paper to kind of make sure that I don't have a whole lot of color in there. Like that one's pretty, it doesn't have a whole lot of ink in it, right? So it's ready to go for me to pick up any of these colors. Now, when you go to do this, the second thing that another thing I would suggest when you're doing this kind of a stencil work is that it takes a little practice. So have a couple of sheets of very vanilla to play with or scrap paper to play with if you don't want to use your cardstock, because you can reuse the stencil over and over. Here's the stencil I was using when I was playing, and look how muddled that is. I mean, I've been using that stencil over and over and over again because I can. But you want to kind of play with this because you can see here, like this one did not come out well, right? I barely got any color. It was kind of like muted and brown. And I'm actually snooting my face at a brown, and I never do that. but that didn't come out well. And then this one was like, oh, what the heck is that? I didn't like that either. And I can't even guarantee that doing it this time, I'm going to get the same thing, the same look. It is one of these things that you just kind of have to play with it. But what I found, I'm going to start with the soft succulent first. And I want to really get some ink on there. So I'm giving it a nice, good like swipe with my brush. Typically, normally, I would tell you that if you were using this, that I would want you to swipe off on your scrap paper to get that chunk of ink off of there before you started swirling and going into your color. I'm going to do the opposite tonight. I'm going to tell you, don't do that. I want you to go directly on with as dark of the ink as you can get it. And what I want to do is I just want to pick an area and I'm just going to like kind of swipe that color on there. And then I'm going to come down here and swipe a little bit more. There is no right way or wrong way. And I want it nice and dark. So I'm going to do a little here. So I kind of play with threes. So I get 3 spots first, right? Now I'm going to clean that up a little bit with my brush. And I'm going to come in with the evening evergreen on the same brush. And I'm going to swipe that one. And then I'm going to add a little bit of the evening evergreen. In the same way, I'm going to go nice and dark. Look how dark that is. Nice and dark. Just kind of sponging in some areas. And I'm going to again play with that rule of 3 a little bit. 3 and 3, right? Now I'm going to change colors. I'm going to bring in Pool Party. This is a little bit of a lighter shade. So I'm going to get a nice swiping that ink off. And you can see how your ink pad changes color, right? Because I'm pulling that ink off those foam pads. So when you do this a lot, you might want to make sure you have a re-inker so you can re-ink the pad. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to put a little bit of pool party in there. I'm going to do a little bit there. And I'm just kind of like brushing it on. And I'm using some pretty good pressure when I do it because I want it nice and bright. Right. Then I'm going to come in with some soft suede. And I'm going to add some of that dark here. I'm going to actually do a 4th and a 5th on this one. I'm going to start to fill in some of these little gaps. Actually, that looks good. I'm going to make that one a little darker. Now a little darker. See it so far? Then I'm going to come in with my bright, pretty Calypso coral. Got ink on my fingers. Prepare to be messy. Prepare to be messy. I'm going to come in with the Calypso coral and I'm going to fill in those gaps now. So I'm going to fill in a gap there and a gap there. I've got a big gap down here. I'm just looking for where is the vanilla that's shining through, right? I'm going to add a little here, a little there. And that looks pretty good, right? What do you think?
I love it.
Like,
I mean, you know, it looks funny right now, but I can just imagine how great it's
yeah, it looks kind of weird right now. I'm going to kind of put these aside just so I don't put my fingers in them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off my mask. So the masking tape paper allows me to just lift that off. And look at that.
Ooh, ah.
Isn't that pretty?
Yes.
And you just don't, I mean, and look at, again, the designer paper with it.
Love
right?
it.
And you can mix and match, but I did find that I wanted to go nice and dark and really kind of get those colors in there. So depending on the colors that you're choosing, again, this is Stamp It Your Way. You don't have to use the same colors that we used. You could do something different if you wanted to. I'm going to set my stencil aside here so I can move that. But there now is my stencil piece. Isn't that pretty?
So pretty. Yeah, I think
So
that the one of the things you could do, one of the nice things of the small brush is you get a little more detail. So I absolutely love that. That is so gorgeous. But let's say you were going to be like, you know, maybe you're a color inside the lines type of person, and you're like, well, I want that flower to be Calypso coral and that leaf to be. Then use the little blend, the small blending brush, and you get a little more detail. Right.
Absolutely. That's a really good tip. That's a really good tip. Yeah, if you wanted just certain colors and certain ones, or let's say you didn't want to do color everywhere. Say you only wanted to hit certain flowers. Yes. You don't want to color the whole thing in. You could definitely get more detail with the smaller little brush. I agree. That is going to be, that's going to go right on that soft succulent piece. My glue is about empty there. So I'm going to put that on the soft succulent piece here. And then you have some gold, you got the gold twine. So last month, if you participated, you got the silver twine. This month, you're getting the gold twine. And it's such a pretty, I just love it. It's so elegant. And it just adds that pop of color that you want. And I'm just tying a pretty little bow here at the end. Pull, tighten, trim, oh, trim. Get that where I want it. And then this is going to go right onto my card base here. Yeah, my ink, my tape, my glue is going to die here on me. I'm going to put that there. Now for the greeting, what I'm using is the With Deepest Sympathy. For me, it's like sometimes it's hard to find, you know, colors that work for like a sympathy card, but I think this is very, as much as it's bright and it's colorful and all of that, it also, I think, is a very well stated like sympathy card. And I'm using the Evening Evergreen, which is almost like black. You know what I mean? It would be a good black substitute ink pad if you needed a black and didn't have one, or an early espresso if you just needed to have a dark color. That evening evergreen would be a good one for that. Now what I did was I die cut the floral, that leaf shape. I die cut that, and I have these. And what I want to do is I just want to put those behind. Okay. Kind of like that. Create where I want it to go. But I actually felt like that was too much. So use the dies to your advantage. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this die in half like that, because I wanted to have 3 at the top and 1 at the bottom. So again, I'm going to let the dimensionals do the work for me here. So I'm going to kind of put those where I want them to go. So if I want that there, I can just turn it over and I can use the dimensional to kind of hold them in place for me. And then I want this one down here at the bottom, same way. Use the dimensional to kind of hold it in place. Easy, right?
Yeah, I love doing it that way.
Yeah, why get the extra glue if we don't have to? Let the dimensionals do the work. And then I'm just going to slide this in beside that little bow. Right there.
That's so pretty.
Isn't that pretty? Just super simple, right?
Yes.
For the inside, just like I did before, the inside where we've kind of got a theme going on here and I don't think we even planned it that way, where we're using strips of paper in the inside. I don't think we discussed it ahead of time. I think we just both ended up doing it that way, right?
Yes, and I think the paper is just so gorgeous. We're both in love. So
yeah, I think we just both ended up doing that without even trying. So there, you can see they're not exactly the same. They're a little different, but they're just so pretty. So what I recommend is definitely having extra pieces of scrap paper, trying it, seeing what you get. Now, if you don't like this look, or you don't want to mess with getting all of these ink pads out, or doing the stenciling, or you don't have a brush or something like that, you can still use the dies and the die cuts. So what I can do here is, let me show you this. I can still die cut this frame, right? And I can still get this piece here, all right? And I can still work with this piece. And this one's in white, but it's going to be in vanilla here, is that I can create it by putting just the designer series paper behind it. Can you see the difference?
yeah.
So this one is the one that was sponged. This one has the designer series paper on it. It's just right on this. This is right on this, right like that. You see it? Now you're thinking to yourself, I don't want to glue that down. That's going to be nasty, right? I'm going to have glue everywhere trying to get that to glue down. That's where the adhesive sheets come into play. The adhesive sheets are 12 inch by 6 inch, and these are great. And you can cut them up depending on the size that you need to be able to put it on the back of your die cut to make life easier. So for example, what I want to do is I want to take a piece of Very Vanilla, and I have a couple pieces of the adhesive sheet already on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the other piece on. So just like with that masking tape, I'm peeling this off. Mary Ellen, if you have any tips on this, please speak up, because this is not something I use on a regular basis. But this is sticky, and I'm just going to put this right on the back of my piece of Very Vanilla, just like that. So the adhesive sheets are on the back of my Very Vanilla piece, and I'm going to take my die and I'm going to run this through. And when I do, remember, you might have to play with the sandwich a little bit, but once I do that, then I'm going to get this. Now with this, you can see that it already has that paper on the backing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel this off. Do you see it? And this is already sticky, because the adhesive sheets has that adhesive already in it. So as I peel that off, and you can see the nice thing about it too is it helps like weed this all out for you. It's kind of pulling out all these extra little pieces for you. I'm just pulling off that adhesive back paper, the backing of it. Is that how you do it, Mary Ellen?
Yes, that's exactly right. I was saying, sometimes you think, oh, it didn't cut, but when you peel off the adhesive backing, then the pieces come with it. That's what makes it nice. I kind of like to use it anyway.
Exactly, because it does. It gets all these little tiny pieces. It's kind of picking them already out for me, without me having to do. Look, see, it just pulls them right out. And then I just pull all these pieces off. And then this is completely sticky. So I didn't have to worry about putting glue on anything or having glue and my fingers all sticky or anything like that. Using the adhesive sheets here, and I think I have a piece of designer series paper around here somewhere. Actually, I was going to pull out, I was playing with this. It was so funny. You commented on this earlier about the gray and the yellow. I love the gray and the yellow. Here's the gray and the yellow, and I'm going to go ahead and put this right on top of that, because then I can use that later on a card. So I'm going to line that up right there. And there's my die cut on that piece of designer series paper without me having to do any glue. Isn't that cool?
It's very pretty.
Isn't that pretty? So those are the tips that I kind of have for using this one. Get some masking tape to kind of hold down, or use some washi tape or some painter's tape to kind of hold down your mask when you go to use it. If you decide that you don't want to do the sponging, which you don't have to do it that way. You could just use it as a stencil. You could use it as a overlay to go right over top of your designer series paper, and it's the exact same card. So either way works. What do you think?
Gorgeous.
Love it. I
love when there's choices.
Choices, yes. Make it your own. And send us pictures. That's it. I think it is. We want to see what you're making. So please share with us.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That was
Do we want to talk? Yeah, this was a lot. This was, and this tonight, I think, was the longest one we've done so far, but there was a lot of really good content in tonight. So I think hopefully everybody stuck with us to the very end. But do you want to show a sneak peek at all of what we're going to do next month?
Sure, you'll have to do that.
I kind of threw that in at the last minute there.
I know. I'm like, yes, let's you do that.
So let me show you. Should I show just one of the cards, or what do you think? Well, how about I show a card that we're not doing, just so they can kind of see it.
Okay, but you have to do the you know what I'm gonna say.
The shake.
Yeah. You have to show
Can you hear it? Can you hear it? I got paper sticking to me everywhere. All right. Let me, I think I can do it if I just hold it up here. So in April, we are doing the Desert Details. What is the name of that whole suite? Do you remember? There's suite is called Delicate Desert.
I couldn't tell you. I don't even have a catalog here in front of me. I thought I did, but I do not.
Yeah, we're so well prepared. I think it's Delicate Desert or something like that, but it's the Desert Details bundle. So here is one card. We're not doing this card, but this is a card that I made using that suite of product. Isn't that gorgeous?
That paper's pretty.
Isn't that paper pretty? So it's got this beautiful succulent type flower. It's got these great coral papers. This is using also, I think it's the pale papaya. I think it's the pale papaya cardstock is what I'm using with this. But you can see those really pretty gold sequiny gems.
You didn't see me yawning.
No, I didn't.
Not yawning at your card.
You're looking at my card. I'm
not yawning at your card.
It's been a long day, folks, and it has been. We started this probably at 3 o'clock this afternoon, and it's like 9 now.
3 o'clock your time. Yeah.
It's been a long day. But then also one of the cards we're going to be doing, there you might have got a little glimpse of it. It's a shaker card, is one of the ones that we're planning for that one. So that's April. Registration will open up April 1st, but we can always, if you're interested, let us know. And this has been fun. What do you think?
I think it was fun for us. I hope it was fun for everybody else. We always like it if you comment. So you're seeing us up on YouTube, whether it's on Betsy's channel or my channel, just leave us a comment. Let us know what you thought. We'll also have the times on there so that if you are a subscriber to Stamp It Your Way, you'll be able to jump to each card tutorial so that you don't have to, if you'll watch the whole thing through once, but maybe you'll go back and you'll want to jump to each card. We'll have those timestamps in there for you. So.
Yeah, you can thank Mary Ellen for that. She's way smarter than me. So she figures all that out for you. So, and then shares it with me so that I look smart. So it all works out really well. You can thank her for that.
I got smart kids.
There you go. she's got helpers in the same house. So that works. Yeah, please subscribe, share. If you could share, we're both trying to build and trying to grow. And if you could share our YouTube with your friends or share the video that you're seeing, that would be fantastic. We would love that too, as we grow and build. And we just like stamping, and we're so glad that you're stamping with us and joining us. We like each other. So we're hoping that you like us too.
I have no comment.
It's been a long day. And on that note, I think we're done for the day. Thank you, everybody, for showing up and watching. And we can't wait to stamp with you next month, right?
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye.